Welcome to another mini episode of Called Bank. So this isn't going to be like a normal episode that we release on the weekends. It goes up to 30 minutes. I'll try to keep it short. And this is the first episode where it's just a solo episode. Moving forward, we decided that we want to do more of these because it's getting more difficult for Nate and my schedule to line up. So you'll see more of just me or just Nate on some videos, and we'll make sure to keep pumping out videos at least once a week with both of us there so you can hear our discussions. But hopefully by now you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know we're talking about Rudy Gobert and his extension. Now, this is not breaking news. All of you know about it by now. This is just going to be more of a reaction and my thoughts of what this means for the Jazz moving forward. And so, if you haven't heard, hopefully you have heard by now, but Rudy Gobert, he signed for a 5-year, $205 million extension. So, I'm not sure exactly how it breaks out. Maybe I haven't checked the right places, but I'm not seeing anything that shows how much it grows or whether it stays stable. But on average, it's a little over $40 million a year, which is a lot of money. A lot of people are going crazy about how he is the highest paid center ever, which it makes sense. The cap has been going up. And Rudy Gobert he's the only really old school center left in the league that is worth this amount of money. He's that good on defense, and he's good enough on offense to pay that kind of money. He's a franchise talent, so obviously the Jazz needed to figure out a way to keep him around. And the good news is that this is less than what he was eligible for. So he was eligible for, I think, a $238 million over 5-year extension. So if you kind of average out the savings from that, that's about $4 million a year. And I don't know if that's front loaded or back loaded or evenly spread out throughout the 5 years yet. If you have a good article or you found that out, leave that in the comments, and then we can talk about how that works. But that's the money that you spend on a decent role player to help the Jazz bench out throughout the next 5 years while they're paying Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell quite a bit of money. So the real question is, do you think he's overpaid? Is he underpaid? I think this was a little bit of an overpay, but at the same time, when you have a player like Rudy Gobert and a player that most other teams aren't really looking, that they don't want that kind of player. A lot of teams are building around stretching out the floor. They want centers like Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, who can shoot the three or who are a little bit more like a guard on the offensive end. Rudy Gobert is definitely not a guard, but what he brings on defense is what players like Karl-Anthony Towns can't bring on defense. And I would even say that he brings more than Anthony Davis brings on defense, even though AD is incredible on the defensive end. He doesn't do what Rudy can do. And on offense, the nice part about having Rudy is his post scoring. It's not elite, but it's something that a lot of players don't have in this game. And he's definitely a lob threat. So it helps that the Jazz have a lot of perimeter-minded players around him, and that really complements his game. So that being said, how do the Jazz look moving into the future when you have two players in Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert locked up for a lot of money into the future? And I was looking at the contracts of other players, and there's some players that are also eating up quite a bit of cap into the future. They just re-signed Jordan Clarkson. He's not in the $20 million range, but his last year, if he accepts his option, I believe it's right around $15 million. We have Royce O'Neal, who at the end of his contract, which is 3 years after this season that's about to start, that's right around $10 million. And there's a couple others. Jarek Favors, he has this season next and an option, and he's right in that $15 million range. And so $15 million doesn't sound a lot when you're talking about stars, but these aren't stars. These are more of the role players. And Jordan Clarkson and Derek Favors, they're coming off the bench. And $15 million is quite a bit to pay. That eats up the cap pretty fast when you have multiple players under contract for $10+ million for multiple seasons. And in Rudy's case, it's not just 10 plus million, it's 40 million. And in Donovan's case, it's right around the 30 million mark. So that eats up the cap really fast. So the Jazz have to be, moving forward, they have to be careful with who they sign, what kind of contracts they sign. And so what I'd be looking for with the Jazz is they're either going to be trying to sign a lot of young players and hopefully develop them, young players to long-term contracts that they can keep them around $2 to $3 million a year and hopefully develop so that in 3, 4, 5 years when their cap is really eaten up by as contracts move up in value is typically what happens. And so that would be a smart move that they should be looking at right now. And it looks like they've been signing a lot of young players. So maybe that's what they're looking at. Another option would be looking at veterans and signing them to 1, maybe 2 year deals. Veterans are typically more willing to take a little bit of a pay cut, and they can bring stuff right now. The tough part with veterans is it might be tougher to get them on that pay cut unless you give them more years because they want that security. Because 1 year in that 34, 35-year-old range, there's not very many teams that are willing to really keep you around. So overall, I think this is a good move, even though I think it was a little bit of an overpay. The Utah Jazz, they kept a player that has been their franchise talent for a long time, and in the same offseason, they locked down sixth man of the year candidate in Jordan Clarkson and their whole future basically in Donovan Mitchell. So even though it's a little bit of an overpay, it shows both the players that they're loyal and the fans that they're not that they care about the fan favorites. They're not just going to go dump Joe Ingles on the side of the road and ship off Rudy Gobert because they don't think he fits. They're willing to be loyal and they're willing to build around the talent that they have. And that being said, for the Jazz, I think that is a smart move. They're a small market team. It's not like the Jazz are going to bring in any marquee free agents. They really need to stick with the talent they have. They spent the years developing Rudy Gobert, and they really need to get the most out of him, even though he is right on the edge of his prime, and towards the end of that 5 years, he may be declining. I'm sure he'll still be one of the best defensive centers in the league for the rest of his career, but he's not going to be the same probably in 5 years from now. I hope he has. I know he has the work ethic, but I hope he can see the results on the offensive end, so that even if he loses a little bit with age, that he can develop new things that he can use on offense, new moves in the post, or even if he can start moving out to get a mid-range shot. I think that's unlikely, but you've seen players like Marc Gasol. They were never shooters for a large portion of their career, and then they say, oh, we need to move outside in order to stay relevant in this league. They develop a jump shot. Same with Brook Lopez. He did not have any sort of a shot. If you play like the early 2Ks, like back with Brook Lopez and on the Nets, his mid-range and like 3-point shot are like Fs, right? But he learned how to develop that. So I don't think Rudy really has the same shooting mechanics as them, but he might be able to develop enough. And with him being, what is he, 7'2", he doesn't really need a lot of space to get that up. So if he could develop a 15-footer, that could be huge for the Jazz. And maybe that's something we'll see him develop as he ages, and maybe he doesn't have the same defensive prowess as he did, even though I'm sure he'll still be great throughout his whole career. So I'm not too worried. The Jazz do have to be careful with the cap. I think this is a good move, saying that the Jazz aren't looking to tank or do anything like that anytime soon. So let me know what you think. Was this a good signing? Was it a bad signing? Do you think it was overpaid? Do you think he deserved the supermax? Should the Jazz have just given it to him, and should Rudy have accepted that? Or what do you think is the right payment for Rudy? So let us know down in the comments. I'll pin a comment to remind you. But thanks for watching. Look out for more of these kind of mini episodes. We're excited to send them. If you have any ideas of what you want us to say in them, to talk about, let us know. We'll try to keep up on Jazz news, but if there's anything you want us to dive deeper in, we'll we'll look in the comments and try to get it scheduled out. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're really pushing to grow this channel and get it up to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this season. So really help us out and spread the word. Thanks, guys. See you next time.